John, what would you like to talk about?
Well, today I want to talk about things that I've written on the board frequently. That, and I don't try to proselytize my beliefs. I just say, here's some things that have helped me in my life. Maybe one or two of them will help you. So I write some of the important slogans, lessons that I've learned in my life. And frequently I write at the beginning of the class, Carpe diem, Carpe rosam, the old Latin. Carpe diem, Carpe rosam. Carpe diem, seize the day. Carpe rosam, gather the flowers, the roses, gather the flowers elliptically before they wilt. In other words, do something with your life before you're too old to do something with your life.
This is a writing class, right?
I know, but it's more about, it's about as much about life as it is about writing. And of course, I don't encourage people to adopt any of my sayings or my life lessons, but just to think about them and maybe give you a different alternative as you go through life. If you recall some of the things I said, who knows? But I think they're good life lessons for people to think about, even if they ignore them. At least there's an option that you don't have to do things the normal, straightforward way. But Carpe diem, Carpe rosam. One of my favorite examples of that to my students is when I was a young man in Europe, living there with my wife and daughter. I remember we went to the Leaning Tower of Pisa, and I carried her up to the top of my shoulders. And then we were in the Eiffel Tower. You could walk up. I don't know if you still can. You could walk up as high as you could. And I walked up there with her on my shoulders, and
all the way to the top of the Leaning Tower, of the Eiffel Tower, rather.
Yeah.
I don't think you can do it anymore. I think you can go to the first platform, and then you need to take an elevator or something.
No. But anyway, I just use this as an example because you never know what's going to happen. I guess maybe in the early 80s, maybe in the late 70s, I don't know. But they closed the Leaning Tower of Pisa for 30 or 35 or 40 years in order to stabilize it because it was going to fall over. And so for those many years, you couldn't walk up to the top of the Leaning Tower of Pisa. Now, that's a big deal. See, it's a big deal to me, but it shouldn't be a big deal to anybody else. I just thought it was interesting, you know. And then the same thing with, I remember going to Stonehenge with my kids. And when I was there, originally with Pat and the youngest ones, we could run around the Stonehenge and, you could do that famous picture where you're pushing Stonehenge around
right.
because of the skewed pictures that you get from that. And you couldn't do that anymore because they got it all blocked off. And the same thing at the Parthenon, at the Acropolis. I've got a lot of pictures of me or my daughter lying on one of the pillars there, and just having a great time. And you can't do that anymore because they've got it all roped off. So, I mean, I took advantage of things when I could. And my best, and I keep telling my best friend this, he was back in America making money, and that was his itch. That was great,
Right.
More power to him. He's been very generous with his wealth, so I have nothing to say about that. Not against wealth, but he really enjoys making money and making deals.
Well, now let's say you're a student today, though, and you're like, all right, so you climb the top Leaning Tower. Okay, go ahead.
Let me finish the story because I'll forget it. And what happened, though, when he got later in life, after he made a shitload of money, he went to Russia, and he got sick on the trip. He's too old to walk up to the. I don't know if he can walk up to the. Who gives a damn, right? But he can't walk up to the top of the Eiffel Tower. I don't know if he could walk up to. I did the things when I was young.
That's not in Russia, though. The Eiffel Tower's not in Russia.
No, but he was taking a cruise down the Don.
Oh, Danube. Okay.
Or the Volga.
Oh,
And
Volga.
he got really sick, which that wouldn't have happened if he were a young man. He
All
was
right.
in a Russian hospital. It's not nice to be in a Russian hospital. But anyway, I just think, if you can do things when you're young, before the day
Do
is
students not
spent.
recognize that? Because a student could look at it and say, well, the Eiffel Tower is already You can't get in there, and the Leaning Tower piece, Eiffel Tower, you definitely can get in. Eiffel Tower, you can't climb from bottom to top. It's still amazing.
Maybe you can nowadays. Maybe they've stabilized.
Well, you can walk up to. Oh, the Leaning Tower, I'm not sure, but certainly Stonehenge is roped off. Certainly the Acropolis is blocked off. I mean, they've been doing construction on it for decades anyway. So the cynical could say, well, those things are blocked off anyway, man. What's your answer to that?
Well, just do things when you can, when you're young enough.
Do you get a sense that your students or the young people have a feeling that, hey, man, I can do that when I'm retired, or I can do that in 10 years, or whatever?
Yeah, because they're pressured to get internships, and then from internships to get jobs, and then advance in the hierarchy. Again, nothing wrong with that if that's their itch. My itch was to see the world when I was, of course, then I didn't think, well, I better see this before I'm old. I just thought, well, here's an opportunity. And I took a job that allowed me, first of all, to go to Europe and work in Europe. So
sure.
And I didn't make much money. All my friends were making a lot more money, but I had a hell of a life.
It seems to me, though, too, that
not that they didn't have a hell of a life too, by the way.
Sure, but the theory applies. The Carpe diem, Carpe rosam notion can apply professionally too, right? So rather than, if you're going to make a career change, if you're going to try to launch a business, assuming you have the skills to do it, or you're going to, become a writer, waiting until, as I did, till you're 30 is not as good as starting when you're right out of school. That's my take. I think you could. Oh, yeah. I think what part of that is saying, do what you think you want to do when you're as young as possible. And then fail at it and do it again. And right. Then fail at that. Because you learn so much from failure. I failed so many times in my life. But I've learned a lot from it. And yeah. I didn't walk into this career of teaching. I stumbled into it. Sure. Yeah.
So
no, I mean, you sold insurance, right?
Yeah, that was
at one
horrible.
Point. That was after you had started teaching.
That's a perfect example. That was so horrible for me to sell insurance, but I've got a really good friend, Chris Poulos, who loves selling insurance, and he's made a very huge success of his life, and he's happy, and he was happy selling insurance. That was his itch. We've all got different itches. The problem is you got to discover your itch, or you got to work your way, ideally, consciously, toward an itch, rather than back into it accidentally. But nonetheless, you got to try to find your itch. I want to talk, since we're talking about Carpe Diem and Carpe Rosam, I want to talk about two of my favorite poems. I'm not.
That's what I was going to get to. Yeah, I wonder if you could read the shorter one, but let's talk about both.
I'll read the short one. Robert Herrick's "To the Virgins to Make Much of Time." Now you see, the thing of it is, you look at this one and you look at Andrew Marvell's "To His Coy Mistress," and you think, oh wow, this is all about sex.
These were written, yes, and
I think
I don't mean to cut you. They were written in 1648. 1648, the Robert Herrick "To the Virgins Make Much of Time," and then Andrew Marvell's "To His Coy Mistress" was written in 1681.
Yeah,
so these are relatively new.
Yeah,
right. But anyway, yes, they do sound like they're about sex.
Yeah, well, they do sound like.
Which is why they appealed to you, I'm assuming.
Of course, because I'm a dirty old man. But the poems are more about living life when you can live life, rather than wait till later to live life. Of course, they're talking about taking advantage of sex when you're young, and you have to, like I would say, I would never give these poems to kids who were
under the age of 5 or 8 or something.
Yeah, younger than 20.
Okay.
Let's see, 21 or 22.
Got it. I
think that's old enough to give these poems to students. But this is the way I think you should live life. You seize the day. And now I'm going to read the poem because I love this poem, and I love Marvell's poem even more. But it's too long. But I encourage anybody listening to this podcast or whatever it's called. What is it called?
So it's a YouTube video. We'll put in the comments or in the description. I'll put a link to both these poems.
Okay. So it's a Marvell's poem. Yeah. You should read it aloud slowly and distinctly. But anyway. This is Robert Herrick's "To the Virgins to Make Much of Time." I always add that too in there. "Gather ye rosebuds while ye may, old time is still a-flyin', and this same flower that smiles today, tomorrow will be dying. The glorious lamp of heaven, the sun, the higher he's a-gettin', the sooner will his race be run, and nearer he is to setting. That age is best which is the first, when youth and blood are warmer, but being spent, the worse and worst times still succeed the former. Then be not coy, but use your time, and while ye may, go merry, for having lost but once your prime, you may forever tarry. Now, people say, oh my God, that means go out and, have sex and, get knocked up. And no, it doesn't say that at all.
It's not total Pornhub material, though, to be honest with you. That's tamer. Marvell's poem is definitely a little more direct, though still.
Marvell's poem is Marvell's poem, but God, it's beautiful because it almost reminds me of Shakespeare's Seven Ages speech, where Marvell's poem, to His Coy Mistress, because it talks about, not from the very beginning, but in the youthful enthusiasm, for physical sexual attraction, and then as it goes through and it shows how the body is corrupted by age, and then at the very end, this is a great line. I just love this line. If I can find it, I don't know if I can find it or not, but it's wonderful.
This is the Shakespeare, or this is the Marvell poem?
This is Marvell. It's Marvell's, where he says the one about my. Where is that one? About, my echoing song. Then words shall try that long for preserved virginity, and your quaint honor turned to dust, and into ashes all my lust. I mean, Jesus, is that a great poem?
Yeah.
It's about living life when you're young and you can.
The graves are fine in private place, but none, I think, do their embrace.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a great poem. It is, yeah. So, well, let's,
I think everybody over 25, should be required to read that.
I think Robert Herrick's you could go lower than 25. Marvell's, let's do 25 and up. You can rent a car, and you can read a poem from 1681 from Robert Herrick. Good. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.